We are at the end of March here, and it has been an absolute whirlwind. I'm a little bit worn down. You might hear it in my voice. I've got a little bit of a cold I'm working through. But I wanted to, in this video, share a few things. One would be a quick update on finalizing our shipping for spring bare root plants, letting folks know what to expect there if you haven't gotten plants already. Second thing, and I'm really excited about this, we are going to be offering quite a bit of local pickup bare root plant offerings over the next week. So right now it's Saturday, March 29th. And so through the 31st of March and I think through April 6th or so, 6th or 7th, we'll be offering pickup windows for folks to come and get plants if they'd like that. I'll explain in more details in a moment. And then last, I put together a little documentation of out at our 6-acre site. We dug up and planted 400 privets in a few hours. For those of you that are interested in something other than our shipping and local stuff, that'll be at the end. We've got our shipping boys here, George and Lenny, keeping an eye on our plants. These are all the dormant plants that we put together. It's a wild mess right now, but this is what we work from. Juan and I assemble in the back, and Sasha boxes in the garage. And we are finalizing shipping over the next week or so. All of you in warmer places, most of you in warmer places have gotten your plants. But in the next week or so, we should be finalizing that. You can see these piles of old blankets and burlap and leaves, so that every night when it's going to get below freezing, we make sure to cover everything up. We water all these plants, and then the boys come in and chew a bone in the alleyways. The leaves right there help insulate, and we can also cover plants on sunny days. So these plants are on their way to you if they haven't gotten to you yet. Thank you for your patience. And if you have received them, make sure you open up the boxes and plant them. Right, George? Plant those sticks, yes. Are you within a reasonable distance, driving distance, to Ithaca, New York? If so, this next section is for you. When we're done with our shipping orders and local plant handoff orders, we're still left with plants. The challenge for us is that we don't know exactly what we're going to have when we offer our sales, because there might be rodent pressure, there might be deep freezes, there might be all sorts of different damages. So we're conservative in how we set numbers, and then we're left with this immense amount of beautiful plant material that needs to find homes. Some fantastic field-ready Ashworth bur oak that are looking to find a nice home. Many, many, many persimmons and carpets of persimmons, both very, very cold hardy varieties, and then varieties that like a little bit of a warmer microclimate. Probably a few hundred northern pecan seedlings. There's both first year and some second year plants that are looking to find homes locally. Maybe you wanted to plant the largest, spikiest hedgerow ever. Osage orange could be a friend of yours. We've got so many of these plants looking to find homes. Take them off our hands. We don't want to have to plant this many. We certainly are never going to compost a plant, so if you don't get them, we have to plant them. There are limited numbers of them, but we have some gummies that we grew from seed over the last few years that have been stool layered, and we've got some pretty large plants here, some high value field-ready plants, as well as perhaps some smaller plants, although we might pot those up for our own purposes. There's also some really nice field-grown seaberry runners and suckers that we're looking to find homes for before we pot them. That's something gumi, seaberry, and honeyberry all feel very promising that we should be able to offer them on September 1st. No promises, but we had good germination on seeds that we stored over winter, so that feels like a nice offering for a wider range of folks. But locally we have a lot of those plants right now. Make sure you read the description. It's going to have details on what the flow would be. Basically, you choose a time slot and you look at a spreadsheet that describes what sort of plants we have. You make reservations for them, and all the details are there if you're interested. This is for our local people. There are lots more plants on that list, so check it out. There's tons and tons of elderberries, rooted willows, I think currants, and a lot of herbaceous plants too. We actually are swimming in Myoga ginger, for example, and lots of Turkish rocket. You get the idea. Check out the spreadsheet, choose a time, and come by and scoop some bare root plants. For other local folks that can't come right now or want to come later on, we do plan on potting up a fair bit. We'll talk about that later. If you're interested, I'll share here now the process we went through yesterday in digging up and planting 400 privet plants in the spirit of protecting our 6-acre landscape from a conventional orchard spray regime. It was a pretty intense project. We've put in a couple of hours. I got not as much video as I would have liked, but if you're interested in seeing the idea of creating a woven folded living fence to deflect from chemicals, stick around. I've shared before about some of the challenges we've had on the 6-acre landscape to the west. It's just very, very open, conventional orchard. It used to have a hedgerow that was there, but the landowner opted to remove it entirely with an excavator last year, which leaves us very exposed to both wind, but also to their chemicals. We also happen to have, for better or worse, a whole bunch of privet growing in one area at the spot that needs to leave. We want to get rid of it, and so we could actually leverage this plant to do the work we need. Very simple tool set to get the ball rolling with this, and the privets come out very early this time of year. They're before leaf. We use this edge of a sharp shovel to prune the roots back so that they're a lot more compact, and there are hundreds and hundreds of these plants that are ready to be set in motion to create a living fence between us and a spray conventional orchard. Here I'm going to wash a little bit of sochan in a pond nearby. This is one of the ponds that we want to protect from spray drift. And so just on the outside of our fence line is where I'll begin. The northwest corner here on the right, that's the most susceptible, so that's where I want to begin. I can put buckets of material, shovel, different tools, fed through our fence line here. You can see the privet lined up. Once I was through on the other side, I just wanted to verify that I was within the property line, and I think I am, so I'm ready to get organized and work on this. Since I'm over there, our friend Annika was helping feed the privet through. Juan was helping her learn how to dig up these plants, and they were delivering them by the wheelbarrow load so I could start the planting process. I started by going towards the northwest corner. It's a 1,000-foot long property line, and at around 2-foot spacing between plants, a little bit more, I need around 400 to cover things so that they overlap every 2 to 3 feet. I'm just making this as simple as I possibly can. I'm using a sharpened shovel and making just enough of a hole to pack the roots in a little bit, and then I'm grabbing the soil that's right there to cover the root system, or robbing soil from right nearby within the property line, but just on the edge, and using that to cover the root zone. So you can see here I'm using one hand to dig and open up, just basically making a planting slit. Now if this was a really high value plant or a grafted tree or something, spend a lot more time, but with this strong of a plant, you can literally just push them in the ground a little bit, cover them with soil, get a little bit more on top, and they'll be able to root out and do their thing. I always make sure to step on the soil in order to get good compaction, and then add a little bit more to hedge my beds. These plants are all going to be planted at an incredibly steep angle to the north, and what that's going to do is promote them to send up lots and lots of suckers, and since each plant is planted with the next one overlapping it, those suckers over time will be able to be woven together to make a borderline impenetrable wall. You can see here wherever I'm planting, if I don't get enough soil, I'll just look for some right nearby to get me a little bit deeper. No fuss, pretty fast. In total, there was around 400 trees that were planted this way. It took me about 2.5 hours to plant them all, which is, I think, the fastest I've ever set trees in motion. We're going to be getting some really nice cool and moist weather, so they should be settled in just fine. You can see where I went through and grabbed rocks as I found them to put rocks on the root mass to keep them really pinned in, and then also rolled rocks over the stems as they face to the north to keep them locked close to the ground so they might root into that and become much thicker. This is a way to multiply plants pretty immensely. Doesn't look like much right now, but many hundreds of privets planted with a weaving pattern in mind should confer a huge amount of protection. You can see Annika and Juan working here, taking a break after digging up a lot of plants. So they brought, I think, 8 wheelbarrow loads this size of privets for me to plant in defense from this orchard. We'll see how it goes. We'll do an update once these leaf out, but right now there is 900 feet of woven privet set in motion.